not having Larry here today and having me instead. So there were casualties, even though the budget was extended. The congressman, of course, couldn't be here tonight. They had votes until after midnight, and there were no flights that would allow him to be here. And he sends his regrets for not being here and his regards to each of you, and wanted me to let you know how important it is that you're all here today. My mom always said, if you want to know who the backbone of the church is, show up on Wednesday night. I feel that way about the Democratic Party. Show up on a Saturday morning in an odd-numbered year, in the spring, when everybody's got other things to do. The people who show up for those meetings and sign that sheet in the back and put themselves up to be officers, those people are the backbone of the party. You get a national political figure that comes in, you can fill a room up. You get me. People who haven't left yet are committed. And the congressman wanted me to pass on his thanks to you for your commitment, not just to building the party, but to participating in the democracy at the very base level, at the precinct level, at your neighborhood level, to stand up before the people that you know and care about and say, this is important to me. It's important to all of us. And I thank you for that, and he thanks you for that. You can't win elections and participate in the process and influence policy if you don't start here. And this is a good start, and this is a good crowd, and I'm delighted to be here and delighted to see each of you. As far as, I think I'm going to take some questions in a few minutes. I don't really have any prepared remarks. They did get a 7-day extension on the budget, so the government did not shut down last night. Things will continue as scheduled on Monday morning. And just so you know, our offices will remain open even if they don't get this next thing done. Our offices will remain open across the district. We will continue to do satellite offices. That nothing that by way of constituent service will be affected for the people of the 8th district. That's something that we're going to continue to do and take a chance on getting paid or not when it's over. But we're not going to take the time off even if the government shuts down. I think what we do is important for people, and it's important whether D.C. gets their act together or not. I know that Ms. Bryant had said that there would probably be some questions, some sort of policy, legislative questions. David Dees, who many of you probably know and know better than you know me, from our congressional staff, is here. David is a part of our outreach and constituency service program. He's a valued member of our staff, and we're delighted to have a Stanley County native and resident to be so active and important to our staff. For all of the many, many questions you asked that I probably will not have a thorough answer for, David's going to jot some notes down, take some names down so that we can get you either a letter or a call from the congressman or the legislative staff to fill in some of the holes that I may fill. So if there are any questions about anything, I'll be glad to field them. But I guarantee you, if this meeting doesn't end on time, it will not be my fault because I'm going to sit down as quick as you let me. So, anybody, anything about constituency service, district? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'll start it off. I have a question about this, how the congressman voted and what he is concerned about vis-a-vis all of this budget, the budget matters. I understand that it's been, the holdup has really been social matters, shall we say, rather than budget matters. Did the congressman vote to maintain funds for NPR, National Public Television, Public Radio?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And he did he vote to support the EPA?
Yeah, he voted against the amendment that would have stripped EPA. He supported every Democratic amendment that was offered to. He voted on each of the Democratic amendments that were offered to sort of soften the impact of the Republican amendment to strip EPA. I don't think any of those amendments passed. There may have been one sort of technical amendment that got through, and then he voted against the amendment, the Republican amendment. So it was a no vote, but the no vote was actually to support EPA.
I understand. And does that also include the business about, that was the final stumbling block, the Planned Parenthood apparently the Republicans didn't recognize that already no federal funds can go for abortion. It was funds to Planned Parenthood for family planning and that sort of thing. Does that include that as well?
Oh,
or
yes, ma'am.
Where did that end up?
That ended up, actually the deal, as I understand it, the deal to get it passed, those they called them what, the social issue riders or the policy riders, those were actually stripped. They did not come to a vote, and that was what made the deal that happened last night come through. So, and the trade-off was, of course, more cuts to other areas. As the President explained last night, I believe it ended up, and this is all rumor, and it's sort of all sort of out there in the press, is that the last set of cuts, the negotiations 2 nights ago, I think they ended up at $78 billion, and they left the social riders on there, the policy riders as they're called, and sort of the last minute deal last night was that they would take the Planned Parenthood rider off for the extra $1 billion in cuts, and that seems to be the trade that was made before the bill was presented. So the cuts to Planned Parenthood were not voted on. They were not part of it, because it couldn't have gone, I don't think it would have gone to the floor. It certainly wouldn't have gone to the Senate had it stayed. So what you have that was passed now does not include any of those concerns, but it cost a little bit of money to get it passed.
So what's the final budget number?
The total cuts from the 2010 budget as it was presented in Congress last year are $79 billion. Because there were 40 cut out at a previous point, and then this past week they moved from 33 to 39. So 39 plus 40 is 79. And I hope that it doesn't make that much difference, but as you all know, last night the press was treating this as some sort of combination of Christmas and New Year's and the Super Bowl, like it was some big thing to watch and count down, and then when it was over, all our problems were solved. It was actually only a 7-day extension, because they're going to have to draft this in the form of legislative language. It's going to have to go back through the process, and as I'm sure some of you heard late last night or early this morning, there are people on the very far right who voted against it last night who are claiming to actively engage for further cuts over the next 7 days. I don't know how much influence they will have, but that's something to watch moving forward. It's not like they're just going to wait 7 days and then re-vote on the same thing. There's going to be, another 7 days of push and pull on this, I think. But just sort of FYI on that. Charles?
Yeah, Thomas, I'm just kind of curious that when is the Democratic leadership in Washington going to quit playing catch-up ball and follow the Republicans' agenda on this deficit matters, which is just an excuse to really get rid of the New Deal and start focusing on jobs, which are the important things going on in Stanley County?
2058. No, I'm no. It's a serious question, and I think it has been a problem for us, whether we're in the majority or whether we're in the minority, is that the other side seems to get a jump on setting the tone for the debate, and that that all we're talking about right now is what to cut and how much to cut it, and they're using a lot of that. And I think it was good that these riders were taken out of this. I really do. We can talk about how much we should cut, and we can even talk about how where to cut it or where to get the revenue for it. But using this to change social policy, to reinvent the way that our government interacts with people at those base levels, I think it's an overreach on their part. I think at some point people in the middle are going to get tired of it. But I don't know when the debate is going to shift off of the questions that you ask about. With the unemployment the way it is, with credit to small businesses the way it is, with the state government budget problems and all the cuts that are having to be made there, that flush down to the counties where they have to make decisions on either, because they only have 1 or 2 ways to raise revenue. You either increase property taxes or you start doing away with services. All of those are issues that if we don't get people back to work, we don't start making things here again, I think all of this other is political window dressing, quite honestly. And I hope, And your congressman is a leading member of the Buy American caucus in the Congress. He pushes for that every day. He's a big proponent of eliminating all of these subsidies to these huge oil companies and these other companies that ship jobs overseas. At a time when we're contemplating dismantling Medicare, do we really need to give oil companies subsidies? He doesn't think so. And I think the key to our economic redevelopment is building things here and putting people back to work making things. And until we do that, we're always waiting on the next bubble, which means we're always waiting on the next collapse. We go from bubble to collapse to bubble to collapse, and whoever's in office when the bubble hits gets the credit for being a genius, and then the next guy has to clean the mess up. We need a sustainable, middle-class, living wage paying manufacturing base in this country again, and the only way to do that is to reward people who do business in this country and to stop rewarding those who don't. Was that in any way?
Yeah, well, you're preaching to the choir here. I don't think you said anything that anybody disagrees with. But
Right.
the trouble is that we're not hearing that coming out of what they call the Beltway crowd. The only
Right.
thing we're hearing is deficits, deficits, deficits. But what people are worried, and that's an inside ball game issue and stuff. The people on the ground around here are worried about people's jobs and people's families and putting people back to work and having good jobs and security, knowing we're going to have good jobs for a while. And we need to see some sort of tone being set. We can only do so much on the local level, but when we're constantly being bombarded by all the media outlets and stuff, deficits, 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 I don't have the answer to that on a local level. I'm just saying it's a problem that needs to be addressed with the DNC or somebody, that we break this fixation on issues that the Republicans are just using as a cynical ploy to really roll back the New Deal and put us back in the 1870s or something.
Okay, and I will certainly pass that along.